We have a quorum. I think that, Sean is not going to be able to get here, and I know Barb Voice has, an emergency, something with her husband, maybe. I'm not sure if she's going to be on or not, but we're okay with everybody else, I think. Okay, proof of notification. Okay, so we have a 17-point agenda. Does anybody have anything they'd like to add, delete, or would like to approve the agenda? Mark moves to approve. Do I have a second? Chad Cosgrove seconds. All in favor signify by saying aye. Okay, we have two sets of minutes, one from May 8th and one from our traditional meeting on May 12th. Hopefully you reviewed those. I have looked at them. I didn't find any major errors. Did anybody else? Okay, good job there, Adam. Do I have a motion to approve the, I think do I have to approve them separately? Okay, do I have a motion to approve both of them together? Okay, Chad moves. Do I have a second? Mark Cooey seconds. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right, we're gonna do the consent agenda for the monthly expenses, and I know you just had a question about that now. Ingrid, wait, oh geez, I just lost. Come on. I think this one says Roadrunner. Is that the right one? No, wait. Yeah, the Roadrunner one is the one that gives you the revenues and expenditures. And some of those didn't have the snap check in there, so it didn't, that's the easiest one to read, I think. Okay, do I have a motion to approve paying the bills from all three entities, the Richland County Food Service, the Richland County Extension, and the UWP Richland? And I have a question first. Gary, I wasn't sure who was taking the bills to Derek, so I forwarded them to him. He said usually you're doing it, so I didn't know how you're okay on that then. Okay, I won't worry about that then. Okay, good. All right. Do I have a motion to pay the bills then? Mark Cooey moves. Do I have a second? Ingrid Grassmanner seconds. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're gonna move right into the extension program because we have a lot to cover with extension this afternoon. So you want to tell us about what's happening with the move? And well, I don't think everybody, since there hasn't been a motion and I don't know whether we need a resolution, I don't think everybody here knows what you're doing.
So, can everybody hear me? Currently, we are packing up the extension office. We need to be out of East Hall by the 15th. So Thursday's coming up on us really quick. We've basically been boxing and packaging everything up, and we've been staging most all the extension stuff in Melville Hall. Carrie's been gracious and given us a conference room and some storage space to hold things until we are able to move forward with the technology upgrades at Melville Hall to be able to link into the county network system. In the meantime, there's 3 offices designated in the Health Human Services building that support staff and educators can work out of during that interim time. So there'll be a very, very minimal limited move of stuff over to HHS.
So Adam, if I want to call, do I call HHS or can I call your regular number?
So my understanding, our regular number will just be redirected to the phones in HHS.
Okay. That's what Jim Luxton had told us that it could be done. So
well, and we're going to be on the county's system now, so it's a little difference in phone lines. It's just the assigning of the number will be a little different. We'll still have the same number. It'll just be routed a little differently through the county system.
Ingrid?
Could I just ask, the last I heard of this was when we were at county board and we voted to move them into HHS. So I need to be kind of caught up to speed.
I think we need to, John, do you want to explain it a little bit? Because we do, not everybody's up to date on this.
So a decision had to be made once the county board made a decision to approve the lease and sale of East Hall, that extension needed to move. They are unable to work out of Melville currently without some additional technology needs that have been ordered, and the UW has agreed that they will pay them. They asked if the county would order them, and once they arrive, then the county will submit an invoice. I said I wanted to do one invoice for all the technology, so not that anything gets lost in the mix. One bill will cover all the technology. But if extension is not out of East Hall by the 15th, we start paying a daily penalty to the school district. The penalty is one thing, but the school district, they really need to get in there and start doing some things if they're going to have classes in fall. So, I talked to Marty, I talked to Steve Williamson, and I said, we need to move these people. It's a temporary, I consider it a temporary move. We need to do it with the least amount of money involved in the move. And so the decision was made to temporarily move the 2 county staff, plus have 1 additional office across the street, so that extension can work out of there until the new technology is installed, and then they will all have offices at Melville Hall. And it was also a request from the university that they would like to see a presence out at the campus as much as possible, and having extension there is somewhat of a presence. So the plan was short-term, bring those 2 county staff across the street until the technology is here and installed and up and running, and then they will move out there as well. And we're able to do it without expending a lot of dollars. And in fact, the move itself, we contacted the local mover, and he said it was too big of a project for him to handle. So the move itself, moving things from East Hall across the street and moving things from East Hall into Melville Hall, is all being done with county staff over and above their normal work hours. So we had, Randy has been working really hard on it. And we've had 4 individuals from the county highway shop that they work 410s, so they don't work Fridays. And they came in and they're helping with the move on Fridays. So that's the reason why a decision was made. We had no choice but to get extension moved out without paying that penalty. And so the wheels started in motion. We got the dumpster. The dumpster arrived last week. So things that can be purged are being purged. Things that will need to be stored are brought over to Melville Hall. And again, the move over to the community services building, we're moving as little as we possibly can. And we also said to the extension staff that we wanted as little disturbance to their operations as possible.
And John helped make a very good compromise. I don't know if you explained one thing, that the UW system paid for all the technology. I think did you say that? I just didn't hear.
And one other thing to add, Adam talked about, the phone numbers will be the same, but now the phone numbers will be on the county system where they weren't before. There's actually a monthly savings to extension by having them come on to the county system.
Okay, so I'm just gonna move to the next thing on the agenda here. Since the county board had a motion to move them to HHS, and since they're really under our purview, and that, John, I guess I'm needing your advice. Doesn't it seem like we need to have a motion, a resolution to move them to Melville Hall, or what do you guys think?
I actually don't think it's necessary.
Okay.
And I would argue the point, unless there's something in the county's rules that requires that to go to the county board, those type of administrative functions, I really believe, are at the discretion of the administrator. I'm not saying that because I'm currently in that interim role, but I would say that if someone else were here as an administrator, those are day-to-day decisions. And I understand, I fully understand why the county board took the action to move them over to East Hall. And in the end, that may happen. In the end, that may happen because we
know what he meant HHS.
I mean HSS, yeah.
I-
It's still possible that sometime they move there, but for right now, we wanted to expend as few county dollars as possible to make this all work.
Okay, so the only thing that, just like our committee is up to date on this, but I don't know if the whole county board is, because a couple people said to me what's going on, and so I don't know if at the county board meeting, you're gonna explain that in your report or something. I just think that we need to let everybody know, so we're transparent.
Yeah, I think I mentioned it in the administrator's report last month. Certainly, I can include something in that report, and I can give a verbal report to the county board.
Okay, so now we have last month, Adam gave quite an extensive appraisal of all the different educators and what they could do and what the possibilities are. And I do think we've been postponing this. I do think it's time for us to discuss this and make some decisions. So, Adam, do you want to say something first? And then I'd like to hear from the rest of the committee.
I guess, like you said, I think we've been talking about this. This is the third or fourth month of this been on the agenda. I still have the approval for the 0.8 HDR position from the state side. That it would be a full go. Any other choice that you guys would have, again, would be a continued discussion to find if we could get the FTE that was needed. I know community development was the one that was originally asked for. Like I said, I had some discussions with the institute director, and they're currently looking at trying to find ways to be useful of the FTE, because they're getting lots of requests for that same thing from counties that don't have educators as well. So just kind of refreshing of where we're at, and from there, I guess it's just up to you guys how you want to move forward.
Okay, any suggestions about moving forward? I know we've had discussion of whether we need the other, whether it was redundant, all those kinds of things. I think I haven't had that much community contact me about it. I've had a few people, talk about Get Real, a few people talking about the pressure cookers and all the different things, the variety. And then Barb Voice had 2 or 3 people contacted. Some of the lower income people were really helped financially. I don't know about the rest of you. This would be the same position that
Yeah, so it'd be human development.
Chelsea blanked out. Thank you.
The largest focus of this position would be on family financial education,
Yeah.
with other areas in the human development too.
Well, the biggest thing I've heard is of course, to Get Real. I mean, that's a big hit and a big concern, I would say. Me personally, we always ask the question, well, where are we crossing? And it doesn't appear that we're crossing, if we are at all. I mean, if we are, it's very little, if at all, with HHS. So, I mean, I guess
We do partner very well with.
yeah,
we're
but
good
it's not
supplements.
but it's not like
No.
we're stepping on each other's toes. So I don't know why we would change from what we already got. I think we got a lot of support. It's working, so I don't know why we would change it. So I guess we need a motion. I'd make the motion.
So on this,
Ingrid, what?
so
Sorry,
Ingrid
I was
asked,
just asking what he had mentioned about the state approval.
Ingrid asked about the state approval. So the way,
Yeah.
because it's a co-funded position with the state, right? So the way we work is the county pays for part of it, and the state pays for part of it. So within the institute, there's so many FTEs for these different types of educators that we have to spread across the state. And so every time there's a vacancy, just like you guys do, we also do an evaluation on the state side to make sure that we are being equitable across the state with those positions. This position is deemed as a priority for the state, and so we've got approval to replace it as it was. If we wanted to change it from where it was, and the state doesn't necessarily has gone through its allocation and said, yeah, I think this is where we got to put those resources into Richland County. Those would have to be some other, if it was a different type of education. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I do remember you speaking about that. How much is the co-pay?
So this is so it's roughly $46,000 for a full-time person is what you would pay. This is an 80% position, so roughly 80% of that. So, but then the state covers and that's every county pays that same fee for a full-time FTE. So as salaries change and all that stuff, it's all happens on the backside. The county doesn't have to pay.
Wait, the 46,000 is our portion of the full amount? Yeah, the state's paying the rest of it.
Yeah, all the benefits, everything's taken care of on the state side, so,
Okay,
the reality of it is, right, is you get a new person, the county pays a little more, as they stay in your county for a long time, you pay a little less, because it's just a flat fee as you go over time.
Well, I'd make a motion to go forward with posting the position as it was.
okay, I have a motion first and a second. Any more discussion? And Adam, you probably know how to write that motion with the
Yep.
exact type of position. Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
All right,
Anyone opposed? Okay, we'll go forward with that. We hope that by fall you can have someone in place.
Yep, and just the way that the positions take, it'll probably be a couple of weeks before we get the FTE, all the stuff, so it'll take a couple months, so hopefully we'll see how this transition goes with the IT stuff too. I'm gonna try to time it up so we're all moved, so somebody's new, not trying to come in, moving into oh, we're gonna be
Yeah.
temporary gone here and then.
Hopping around.
so- But
Okay, so you do have a change in food wise, which is disheartening. I saw her on Friday at her goodbye lunch with Sheena.
Yep, so, Christine Lockwood, who is our food wise educator, is leaving us. She and her family are moving to California. So if you guys know Lockwoods, they've been really big asset to the community.
Mhm.
The cool part about food wise is this position is federally grant funded. So Sheena is the food wise coordinator, so she oversees 3 counties as the food wise unit. And they do have funding to continue to move the food wise educator position forward. So there's really no county dollars involved with that one. We just provide some housing and some support. The one thing that they are looking at making a change though is making this a bilingual food wise educator, so with the Hispanic, as the other, language that this person will speak to help with the 3 county region, but most specifically, Richland County has the highest Hispanic
Mhm.
population in of 3 counties, so it made sense as we were talking about how to fit that need for the 3 counties while this vacancy was open to also include that as a requirement for this position. So I think that's the direction machine will be forward with that. So that'll be really cool. We'll have bilingual educator in school districts and low-income families on nutrition and food security.
I'm really pleased we're addressing the real needs in the county, and that's very good. Thank you very much. Okay. So there was some discussion of possible other educators moving maybe to the campus eventually. Do you know anything about those? I heard a couple names mentioned.
Yep, so currently there is a statewide outreach specialist on the UW Richland campus, Jeff Morris. He's a swine outreach educator. Many of you might remember Joy Kirkpatrick, who was the ag educator in the spot before me. She's been a farm financial specialist at Madison, and she lives in Spring Green. And there's an opportunity for her to make her home office here in Richland County as well. So she's looking into that possibility. And there is one other possibility with an educator in the community food systems organization that also is kind of working from home, but looking for a possible office location. So this could be an office location for them as well. And so the state takes care of the technology needs and things like that for them. It's just people that will be housed alongside of our extension office, just to help bring a presence, more educational presence, and hopefully will relate to more educational programming happening here locally at no extra cost to the county.
Yes.
So Adam, they would be housed here. If this is similar to what I saw in Dodge County last year, they would be housed here. They would also do some work in other counties, but just due to the fact that they're here, Richland County would be gaining a benefit, perhaps more than some of the other counties because they're physically located here.
Right. Yeah. I mean, let's face it, everybody likes to do meetings at their office versus driving. So more people we can get pulling into Richland County, the better. And let's face it, we do have some really good facilities for regional meetings too, so I think that'll help
Yeah.
draw some people outside the kind of smaller big those be.
I'm aware of the work Joy Kirkpatrick's doing and how it has really benefited our farms, and the passing on them to the next generation is a really important aspect. So that's great. Thank you very much. Okay, well, we hope everything goes as smoothly as it can, and we do support you, and we know that you're going through a little bit of a tough time right now.
Yeah, and I will give kudos to both Randy, the guys from the highway shop that first Friday. They moved a lot of stuff that first day. 4 hours turned into 5 hours really quick. But we got a lot of stuff moved out of the office. The support staff and the educators have been helping out. Chelsea even came back and helped clean some of her office. So it's been good. And yes, staff is a little stressed right now, but I really do have to commend them for the work and effort it's put into helping with the move. So I think from that perspective, the county employees definitely deserve some kudos on that one.
Thank God it's not the end of August.
Right?
The fair gets awful close. It gets a little tense anyway, so. Thank God it's now.
Okay, we'll move on to the food service update. I knew at the beginning of last week, because Stephanie sent all our financial stuff then, that she's alone this week. Cindy Diedeloff is her vacation this week, so she couldn't make the meeting. We can go through the financial things if you wish. However, I think, I'm not quite sure. When we do the update, I sent you that email. Should we do that in closed session, or should we do that now, John, what I was going to talk about?
If it's personnel related,
Mhm.
that's what you're thinking, we should do that in closed.
Okay. All right, so, I think I'm just gonna let you know that, the HHS board last Thursday, didn't award the contract to the Richland County Campus Food Service, so therefore, we're gonna have to make some major changes, and we're gonna talk about that in closed session today.
Actually,
Mhm.
just thinking about that, if that's the only thing that we're going into closed session about, there's no decisions that can be made today. I don't think we need to go into closed session. I just think that from what I read from your email is that we're talking about current employees that are out there and what may happen if food service stops. We don't know until the board takes action next week whether that contract is approved or not. So I don't think there's a reason to go into closed session today to talk about the potential, of what happens with employees out there. And that, to me, that's just common sense, that if there are things that have to be moved around, that we have those discussions. So I don't think that there's any need to go into closed session the more that I think about it, because we don't have county board approval on that yet.
Oh, okay. So, then I'm gonna just ask you, because we have the National Night Out on August 1, and we have a few other programs. I don't know if they all need food or not. You probably know better, Carrie, than I do. So they have a contract through January right now, or December. So, because I met with them last Friday just to say, some things might change. So they would be under contract in July and August until the county board and our board makes some sort of other decisions or whatever. I just wanted to make sure that I know what.
I would say we'll certainly have to have those conversations down the road, and we want to live up to the contract that we have. But if the county board makes a decision to end that contract now, then I would say other arrangements need to be made. When I say other arrangements, I mean, it could still be with county staff. It could be using that kitchen. I'm just saying there may need to be other arrangements made. But I think it also impacts on any future scheduling that's done on campus. If they're expecting
Yes.
food,
And
that conversation needs to take place.
I agree. I'm hoping we can honor, it's 1,000 people coming on August 1, so we're hoping to honor that. That one. Okay, so I'd like to let them know that we'll discuss it in the July meeting and go forward from there. Any other questions about that from the rest of the board?
That was their main contract, wasn't it?
Well, right now, without that, I think we're not financially feasible, so we need to make some changes probably and figure something out that's appropriate and professional. Okay, nothing else? We are moving fast here. Carrie Keller.
Good afternoon, I'm Carrie.
You moved up.
Can you make sure your mic's on, please?
Are we good now? Okay. I will be the person who comes to this meeting on behalf of UW Platteville for the foreseeable future. In terms of updates, most of it has been reported to you already. We did have precision control in for a few items. One was just a bid on air conditioning in a library office. We had a belt that needed to be tightened for Melville Hall heat. And then the two that happened in the Roadrunner Cafe were really worked on with the Roadrunner Cafe folk, but were billed via us, so we've presented that information. Just so you're aware, and this is noticing very much so on employees from the fire inspector, and so we've rectified that, so you. I'll try to put first. We did have some old invoices go to people who are no longer employed at the institution, so we've rectified that. So that's why you have some older pieces. In terms of updates, we did have an HVAC issue come up this morning in the copper tap. We have a request out to precision control, and we were told, I believe, that it's not an emergency, so they're coming sometime this afternoon. So you can expect more on that event next month. I'm not quite sure what it will lead to. We continue to oversee the grounds. I know there have been a variety of questions about the trails. The trails have now been mowed and will continue to be mowed regularly going forward.
Wait, did you say they're gonna be mowed?
They have been.
I had another email.
They
this
were mowed
morning.
on Friday.
Thank you very much.
Office assignments, I don't quite know what the question is on that one.
I'm not sure either. I guess maybe that's something we just have to work out together because the foundation would like to move some places, where, you know, there's different people who like to have offices and the Emeriti. And, I think you're meeting sometime this week with
Yeah,
Jeff.
I
so
think
we're
that'll
gonna-
be a letter of interest.
Oh,
Yeah,
intent.
Intent, yeah.
Okay,
discussion.
so
Okay.
can we discuss that? Because again, people just keep asking me and it's
Yeah,
really hard.
it's the same thing that we have, right? Everybody just wants to know where pieces lay. and
Yeah.
Hopefully we will all know soon,
Yeah.
but until we know,
Right.
I don't know, you don't know, we don't know where they fall.
Okay,
So,
but we think they're gonna fall somewhere, right?
hopefully soon.
Yeah, okay, good, thank you.
Linda had asked for a copy of our facility usage requests. I forwarded it to her and let her know that it's under review. If you see it, I don't know if that was shared with the board.
I
or
didn't,
not.
maybe I could have, but I
It's
just.
okay, I
yeah.
can share the pertinent information. First of all, it's a very old document that still references UW colleges and deans, and so it seemed
Yeah.
like something we should be looking at. And it also says, we have been using it, but it also says that people who don't have a clear working relationship with the university will be charged fees. The fees are particularly nominal at the moment. $20 to $40 a day for the usage of rooms. We are again looking at that to make sure that it's just up to date and reasonable. But as we are scheduling events for the summer, we are using that agreement with people as we go forward. Feel free, as people have inquiries, to send them to me. And that's how we're going forward with that. In terms of other questions on that one?
No, I just want us to sort of know, I like the committee to know these things and that this is, you know, something of interest and because people again are asking how much and I said, well, I talked to her and I didn't know, I guess I could have looked on the website.
Yeah, and really just in general, I'm on campus at least once a week, if not twice a week. That is questions arise, just send them my way. I tend to
And
answer in a
the,
manner, so
The community players is on campus right now, is that correct?
they will be for a month, yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I just want,
Heidi,
yeah.
it's my understanding what they're doing too.
Mhm.
And then ash trees, it's our understanding the county is taking that effort on. There was, I believe, a bid and Randy came on campus, but we haven't heard any updates on that, so I don't have
Okay,
additional
we haven't
information.
from this committee either. Do you know about that, John?
There's been a lot of discussion about
Yeah.
removal of the ash trees, and I specifically asked that question to Jeff Brandt, and Jeff said that because they are on county property, that is county responsibility, and that, so we're looking at options as to what can be done with the ash trees.
There are a lot of them.
I-
There are a lot of them.
Yes, there are.
So it's sort of a big job. and so that's-
I haven't looked into this, but I know a friend of mine is having all their ash trees removed from their forest and someone's paying them to do that. Is that some, you guys, anybody know more about this? Is that something that is feasible?
I know that Corp Council is looking at what options we may have. As an example, somebody cutting them down and removing them for the wood. You know, where we would still be responsible to remove the stumps at some point, but, so we're looking at options.
If you find somebody, I need it.
If I just could, and maybe there's more questions for Carrie, but I want to just say that I've been very appreciative that Carrie's been working really good with us. There's just a lot of balls up in the air. There's a lot of conversations that are taking place that we are not involved in, that's above us. And certainly the state budget before it's done could impact some things here as well. So I think we need to be prepared to take action when we need to take action.
So I'm gonna interject, I know I'm in the middle of yours. I don't know if we're gonna have to have a special education meeting or not. I was waiting on an email today and didn't get it. So, please be alert. If I send you one, I'll call you if there's something that needs to be, so that you're not like, oh, I missed an email or something, just so that you're all aware. So we'll see what happens. Okay, I'm sorry, Carrie.
The only other thing I wanted to share that I just learned today, I'm a sociologist by training. I'm an academic, and now I have facilities management responsibilities. So thank you for your patience. But the one piece that will have to be figured out, maybe with just John, but is East Hall doesn't have meters on it for utilities going forward. So we're going to have to figure that out to some extent, how it is that utilities will be paid, because right now, right, the entire campus is together. And so with the removal of East Hall and centralized HVAC, that's going to cause an issue.
I will check into that.
I think that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions for Carrie?
Perhaps just one thing to add, and that is, and for Adam as well, that I believe the school district is hoping that they can use the conference room in East Hall on Friday for a meeting
East
So,
Hall.
in East Hall. So
We're
just,
gonna see if we can get you a fob.
Yeah.
The keys are master keys to the entire campus. So, we give entrance to one building only.
right, and certainly the school district should be changing the locks on those buildings, so it'd be something that would be very temporary.
We're just trying not to.
Right, right.
Thank you, everyone, for this ongoing transition that has been somewhat difficult, but everyone's patience we appreciate. Okay, we're moving right on to Tracy Govan wanted to talk about future needs again, and you handed, did you give that to me, Tracy?
Yeah, there should be a colored copy there for you.
I have so many.
You want another one?
Oh, I got it. I just had too many papers.
So first off, I actually got a bunch of messages saying that the campus trails looked very nice right after it was done. So thank you. The public has noticed those trails.
To mail some emails out.
From, yes, that was those guys. Yeah, so yes, it was a good kudos. Thank you. Folks really noticed right away. So, so I'm bringing this back up. I have done a little presentation for you guys here, but I'm not sure. Some of you guys might be new to the educational committee, so you missed out on it. Others, you might have heard kind of a talk like this before. So this is just bringing up with the Simons Auditorium Board asked me to present this to this committee just to make you guys be aware of the different situations about Simons on the campus as the campus future kind of unfolds. So the first page is really just a picture of what we currently have for Simons for physical footprint. So the light blue outline is what outlines there for what we have. So we just have the parking lot. So that sidewalk there, that's next to the gymnasium. That is actually campus land and campus sidewalk used though by many of our members when they park in our parking lot. And so we really just have a little bit of a sidewalk there in front of our building, a little bit of land towards the library, and then just out to that gravel road towards the basketball courts and the tennis courts. And then we have a little island behind the building, which is where our solar panels are at, kind of thing. And then over in the field, there's a little triangle there that says drain on it. So that is our drain. So whenever it rains, when the snow melts, anything that comes off of our roof comes out of that drain. But the big thing that comes out of that drain is when we dump our pool in August or September, and then they flood the field with our pool water when we drain it out. And the city does not want us to stick our pool water down the drain. They don't want to handle that much water at all at one time. So that is the drain that we use. So just kind of being aware of what our current footprint is at the campus. While we're on campus, we're partially separate from the campus, but having that on that first page. The second page is if something were to happen at the campus. I know at one time there was talks that the campus was going to change some of their property that they had, and I don't know what that is. I don't know if anybody knows what that is right now. So just throwing out some proposed ideas for future land use. So looking at what Simons would like to see as some future land. So actually having more land space, especially behind the building, in case we do an addition. If they were not able to get the gymnasium, then we'd be looking at potential future additions would be behind the facility. And that's what we've had in past of some presentations quite a few years ago when Denise Lenz was the director. There were some additions that would go up behind the building. So that's why there's that extra land out there. And then also where their current solar panels are, if we ever decided to add more solar panels, the current solar panels, the best spot for them was actually farther up on the hill, but we weren't able to get that land at that time. So that's why it kind of goes back there for additional solar panels for in the future. I think so that's kind of the main thing there. And then making sure that we had a line out to that drain. So we owned, so if something happened to that pipe that goes out to that drain, that we'd have access to do something with it so that, we could fix it and then have a understanding of whoever were to have the field, they would know that that field would get flooded once a year when we drain the swimming pool. So that's that page there. If you guys flip over to the next one, this is just showing the Simons has no storage space, so it just shows how far the shed is back there by the field. But not looking to own like the gravel road up to it, but just having like a easement to get to that shed. And then if Simons could have access to that shed for storage, because we literally don't have storage space at the current time. So that's kind of just the picture to show that, but looking at that and having just an easement to go up there and then having some feet around that shed just to, so we'd have plenty of access to get into the shed to put stuff in there. So those would be something to think of for future. And then the one thing on the last page, I don't think that this will come to fruition by any means, but just to be aware that if something drastically were to happen with the campus, to make sure that Simons doesn't get landlocked, because if it does get landlocked, the only viable option to get to Simons, in my opinion, would be to create a road where there currently is a walkway from Hive Drive over to Simons. And right now, Hive Drive is a city street. So that would be where we could have public access that would come down into our parking lot. But I had been told that landlocking places is not legally, so that probably isn't going to come to fruition. But I was trying to check all the boxes just to make sure that everybody was aware of what could potentially happen when decisions were being made about the campus with Simons being tucked on the campus as well. If you guys have any questions, again, it's just more informational, but I just wanted to get it out there. And so did the Simons Natatorium board asked me to present it to two different boards. So I know a couple of you guys have already heard this spiel.
How many gallons are in that pool?
Oh, I think it's 36,000 gallons. That's the number that pops off my brain right now, but that's No, it's 104. 104.
104,000.
104,000. Yeah, it's
It's,
104, sorry, 104,000.
Just something to think about. If anything did happen and that field is somebody else's, they very well might not like having 104,000 gallons of water dumped in their yard. So, that's just something we need to think about if we need to haul that
Exactly.
away. You know what I mean? Just,
Or it has to be part of an agreement.
well, yeah, something, everything's good now.
Yeah. I mean, that makes the grass very squishy. That is a flood zone. The field is a flood zone, and it will make the grass really squishy and standing water usually for a couple of days, depending on. But if we're in a drought, it might be okay.
Right now.
Yeah.
I might want to do that right now. Everybody might enjoy that. Somebody will have to mow then.
Right. So I have a question. Does anybody else have a question? So I know you're in flux too, but I'm looking, and I know we've had conversations with high school and you about the gymnasium, and that's will be settled later when things are done. But when I look at this map that you've drawn of what your ideal is,
Yes.
it seems to me that that back build, you might have room to build a shed back there. If you drew that line out and took in the tennis courts and the basketball, and then came down to the drain, that would fit very well into a recreation center, that you would have the tennis courts and the basketball. I don't know if that's something you've thought about taking on.
Well, it would, but as you said, I'm in flux right now, so why would I add more expenses on when I'm always being asked to cut expenses?
That's what I thought.
So that's my logical answer to that. And I've been told that the high school wants the tennis courts and the basketball courts as well. So if I have somebody who wants to pay for them and keep them
I haven't
beautiful,
heard
then
that, but
that's what I've been, well, I mean, rumors fly wild, but so I don't know, don't quote me on that. But that's what I last heard, was the high school was interested in the field and those courts. So that's why I left them out of my presentation and out of that. And two, because they cost money to upkeep those. And,
Yeah.
as I'm always being asked to cut,
I
to
understand.
add more expenditures, because how do you make money off of free tennis courts and free outside basketball courts?
This is probably not professional, but maybe if we got together since June of last year, when some of the things started, and wrote a book of all the rumors we've heard in town and sold it, we might be able to pay for some things.
Yeah.
Okay, enough on that. Thank you. And we definitely will keep this all in mind, and I think all of us have to keep into the conversation together to make sure that things are handled appropriately and professionally, and thinking of our community and what's best for the community.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for listening to me today.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
All right, I don't have any reason to go into closed session unless someone else does. All right, do we have any public comments? Now I realize I have that on the wrong place on the agenda. I will move that to the top of the agenda because we were complaining that that was in the wrong place on another agenda. So in the future, I'll move the public comments to the top. Because I think that's most appropriate.
Sometimes I think it's better at the end, because a lot of times people are talking about stuff that we discuss.
Well,
But
we could maybe have it both places,
I don't know.
because there was things, or the county was going to make a decision and people wanted to have input before, so I don't know what's the best thing.
Use the discretion of the chair to move it.
Yeah, maybe it depends on the agenda. Yeah, good idea. Okay, anybody have items for our July 10th meeting? We obviously know that we'll have a lot doing things. We'll see what happens with the county board with food service. We'll get an update on what's happening with the technology. And Carrie will, hopefully you're still doing the facilities usage for a little bit. We're not sure how long, right?
Nobody else is begging me for it.
Yes, John.
I would just say you brought up the technology, and so that order has taken place. It's a couple weeks in now, but I was told by Barb that it could be up to 2 months before that technology arrives. So I just want to make that clear that what we didn't talk about was the ability and the approval that Extension already had from the higher up authority that they can work remotely as well. So they may, they may be doing some work out of community services building. They might be doing some home from other places, but we're probably looking 2 months or so before things can be set up in Millville Hall for them to be there working every day. That's one issue. And then, the other issue, I think when you were talking about going to closed session, certainly if the county board takes action next week to end the contract now, we will have conversations with the employees out there and see what we can work out.
Okay, good. I don't have anything else, I don't think, in that. As we know, building materials, they're not, everything's taking longer than it used to take. So we'll hope that it won't take that long, but you never know. I know that the order went in on May 31st, I think it was, right? For the
I don't remember.
it was the day after Memorial Day, whichever day that was. Okay, do I have I think in the last year and a half, this is the shortest meeting that we've ever had. Do I have any I don't have any correspondence. Does anybody else? Okay. Just some emails about mowing, which I'm gonna go home and say, it's mowed. Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn to July 10th? Or if we need a meeting before?
I'll make a motion.
Mark Cui moves. Do I have a second? Bob Frank seconds. All in favor signify by saying aye.
All right.
All opposed? Okay, motion adjourned. Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.